So this is my week 11 discussion board, um, talking about the two uh, poets we had to read this week. Some of their work we read Anne Sexton and we read Sylvia Plath. First off, I'd like to discuss the two women. You know, we could see that their work was pretty similar. Um, these two women, they uh, they both um, it was nice to learn in the two fantastic powerpoints that both of these women, they both had two kids, they were both suicidal, they both actually did commit suicide, um and you know they both struggled throughout their whole lives up into the point that they did actually take their lives. So there were a lot of similarities between these two, which would lead, I believe, into similar work. Which, after reading their poems, they do have similar. They most of the themes involve death, um, or depression, and all of that stuff. It was evident throughout many of Anne Sexton's poems. About her unhappiness and stuff like that, her depression. She wrote, um, she even wrote a poem about Sylvia, which pretty much, you know, she respected Sylvia, but she was so competitive with Sylvia. She was like even upset that Sylvia died um, before her. She was jealous of that. Um, you know, I believe that both of these women, their work was famous or looked up to because of what they were writing about. They were writing without boundaries. They were writing what they truly felt, everyday emotions that individuals go through, everyday feelings that people have. And that is why I believe that their work was so famous. People could relate to it. They were the mouthpiece for individuals that couldn't say what they were feeling, which is with arts. Lots of times in life, you can't say what you're actually feeling, so you go and you listen to a song and you can relate to that song, or you read a poem and you can relate to that poem, or you see a picture somebody has drawn, and it explains how you feel, but that you can't say. It's a different type of writing than we've read before. The writings we've read, they haven't been like this. They haven't been so outright and deep and dark and emotional. And that's what's different about these poems. And lots of people probably felt this way, which is why both of these individuals were famous. They were both obviously confession artists. They wrote true things, and their themes were similar: bitterness, jealousy, depression, all of that stuff. These two artists were so similar, and probably like a lot of people that are out in the world, and that's why they were famous. And I really can't harp on that enough. I know I've repeated it so many times, but that's really what made them both famous. Um, some of the symbols in Daddy, I thought it was pretty crazy when the symbol of her father being related to a Nazi, her being related to a Jew. I didn't know if that was symbolic of relationship between man and woman, or mother and daughter. But then she also relates her husband to her father. So is she calling her husband a Nazi while she's a Jew? You know, I don't know if that's just because these two men were close to her, um, or if that's just all men. That's how she felt. But these two artists were famous because they were saying what other people wanted to say, and because of how different their work was during this time. They were being out there and they were saying what they wanted to say with no boundaries, and women were speaking up, and I really think that was positive during this time period for people.